This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 8th of March 2022, and I am 2J.
I am JM.
And I am Miss K. Again, in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. Daily Nation, Ruto to run parallel vote tallying center. The Standard, Uhuru's failures are his own, Ruto. The Star, Ruto, I didn't appoint any cabinet minister and finally People Daily, Uhuru's cabinet has failed. Ruto, yet again.
Very similar headlines.
Very similar headlines, and I guess they're speaking to what happened this week. So this week, the Deputy President made an address at Chatham House again. But in our view, the DP made some misrepresentations about the Kenyan reality, then attempted to pass off these misrepresentations to the Chatham House Mzungus as the truth. According to Neil deGrasse Tyson, there are three kinds of truth. The first is objective truth. This is something that is true whether you believe it or not. The methods and tools of science are used to seek out and establish objective truths, and an objective truth cannot later be proved false. Newton's third law of motion states that what goes up must come down if there is a force acting on it. This force is called gravity, and this is a scientific truth that will not change. The second kind of truth is personal truth. This is something that is true to you. Religious beliefs are a personal truth, and the third kind of truth, the one that's important today, is called political truth. This is something that is true because it has been incessantly repeated to the point where it is believed and accepted as true. If you keep repeating a misrepresentation, a half-truth, or a lie, eventually people will believe it. And in our view, the DP attempted to hoodwink the Chatham House Mzungus with political truths. Statements about the country that are only true because he and his UDA brigade have repeated them to the point where we have believed them and accepted them as true, even though those statements are false. So while the DP's address was littered with these political falsehoods, I will focus only on two. The first political falsehood is the lie that the Constitution cannot or should not be changed and that any amendments to the 2010 Constitution are attempts to mutilate it. This is a lie. The constitutions are not cast in stone, even the best of them. The American Constitution has had 33 proposals for amendments and has been amended 27 times. BBI was only proposal 1 out of many more that will happen in the future. And the Constitution will be amended one day, even just to fix the misgivings that the DP had when he led the No campaign. The second political falsehood is the lie that more has been achieved in the first term than in the second term. Here the DP quoted 1.5 first-term projects as part of his contribution to the Jubilee government. I say 1.5 because SGR is the first-term project, yes, but the roads, by the DP's own admission, are attributable to both the first and second term. So in the second term, handshake term, the president has initiated the following projects. Mau Mau Road. This is the single longest road constructed in Kenya's history at a distance of 582 kilometers. The Sagana Marua dual carriageway. This is the longest dual carriageway in Kenya at 87 kilometers. The president has also completed Lamu Port, rehabilitated MV Uhuru, and opened the Kenya shipyard. I could go on. And the work on UHC is an episode all on its own. The moral is this: dear Mzungus, spot the convenient political truths. Don't buy into alternative facts.
Yes,
absolutely.
And so last week, I asked the question, what is the purpose of Ruto's international trip? This, of course, goes beyond his search for diaspora votes and his desire to appear like an international statesman. William Ruto traveled with a very clear script of what he wanted to sell to the West. And I must say, bravo, Mr. Ruto. Your time at Chatham House yesterday was a masterclass of the sympathy addict in action.
That's right.
Ruto has executed his scheme with near perfection, and he has used information asymmetry as his weapon of choice. Very simply, information asymmetry exists when one party has access to more or better information than the other party. And the problem with this phenomenon is that it creates an imbalance and even exploitation. In the case of Mr. Ruto, he knew that he was going in front of an audience that does not know about his track record. He knew that he was going in front of an audience that has little appreciation for the nuances of Kenyan politics. Put differently, he had access to more information than the Mzungus he was addressing, and he took advantage of it. He benefited from the information asymmetry in the room and used it to formulate a very dangerous narrative. Ruto told the West that our constitution has been poorly implemented and that its full implementation was at the top of his agenda, while conveniently leaving out the fact that he was a strong supporter of the No campaign challenging that very constitution in 2010. Ruto also told the West that Kenya needs reforms around agriculture to protect farmers against cartels and low productivity. But he failed to mention his time as Minister of Agriculture when he was fired under suspicion of corruption and alleged links to the 2009 maize scandal over imported and unfit-to-eat produce. This is a man trying to convince the West that he is pro-inclusivity. But what exactly does the Hustler Nation stand for? The boda boda industry that attacked a poor young woman on Forest Road this week is powered by that very hustler mentality. Yet Ruto wants to convince the Muzungus that hustlers represent a class struggle for equality. But in reality, it is a class struggle that has been adopted and manipulated by the owners of the Hustler Nation for their own benefit. And so I answer my own question. What is the purpose of Ruto's international trip? In my view, William Ruto is sowing seeds of doubt in this land called the West. And he is doing so with the intention to call upon that doubt come August 22. That is why he goes to Chatham House and declares that he will win, so that should it happen, he was right all along. But when he loses, there will be a trail of sound bites across the world that he foresaw foul play. William Ruto is prepping the West to be his contingency plan because he thinks that they are stupid. I really do expect a different approach when Raila makes that same visit to Chatham House next week. We'll wait and see.
Absolutely. Now, what explains his deceitful rhetoric these past few days? And here's my hypothesis. William Ruto right now is in completely unfamiliar territory. He is displaying signs of a schizophrenic. But let us cut him some slack. He is being taught character development. He's going through a frightful metamorphosis, transitioning from being an incumbent to being an opposition leader. And it is especially painful, a painful mutation, because Ruto has never lost an election. But because it is now becoming apparent to him more than ever before that the 2022 election is lost, he's now going through the 5 stages of grief. Stage 1 of the 5, denial. Up until Jubilee and ODM NDCs, William Ruto had been in denial. He carried on at rallies, chest thumping, ultra confident that he will win the 2022 presidency. While in America, he graduated to stage 2, anger. Knowing that he has lost the presidency, he has now resorted to all manner of falsehoods. This anger is what led him to make ridiculous claims. Things like, saying his wing of the URP coalition never had any cabinet ministers. Downright lie. His cabinet nominee, Henry Rotich, is currently in court over Aror and Kemwarer.
Oh, yes.
He claimed that UHC was never accomplished. Another downright lie. By December this year, NHIF will have the equivalent of Rwanda's population. That is 13 million Kenyans covered by NHIF.
Yes.
He claimed that the BBI campaign sabotaged transformation in the agriculture sector. Well, his ally and cabinet nominee, Mwangi Kiunjuri, was in charge of that docket.
Yeah.
Now, Mwangi Kiunjuri, to remind Kenyans, was publicly scolded 5 times by the president over theft of funds at the agriculture ministry in front of Kenyans for all of us to see.
Yep.
Stage 3 of the grief that we should expect him to get to is to bargain very soon. He'll be bargaining with himself and with his boss. Then stage 4, he will enter depression. And then finally, he will accept. And he will accept that he must live to fight another day. So, in sum, what should William Ruto do right now? 3 lessons on retreat from the art of war. Number 1, don't be stubborn. In war, the sooner you accept defeat, the better. Stubbornness can lead you down a blind alley. Number 2, conserve your energy. If you can see a hopeless situation looming on the horizon, which is very hopeless right now for him, then it is only right to retreat in time rather than pointlessly wasting your energy. And number 3, a good fighter is not ashamed to run away. Not running away during a fight, Mr. Ruto, will not make you heroic.
I do like those points, especially the stages of grief and where we are at, the falsehoods stage. We have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking and thoughtful, or just plain lazy? Daily Nation, Ruto to run parallel vote tallying center, the Kikuyu training in me. The Standard, Uhuru's failures are his own. Ruto. The Star, Ruto, I didn't appoint any cabinet minister, lies. And People Daily, Uhuru's cabinet has failed. Ruto.
I would toss all of them merely for being speculative. I feel like
That's true.
Ms. K, as you just taught us about truth, I think these are personal truths that Ruto is sticking to, right? Or are they political truths that he's sticking to?
Some are personal, some are political, but either way they are not objective.
No, they're not.
We toss
Toss
all
them all.
the headlines onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. And just like the headlines, you have a 3-part criteria. We use to judge the cartoons for you. Are they humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic and effective, or just plain lazy? We will begin with the Standard.
Yeah, okay, so in the Standard we have 2 frames here. One comparing 5 years ago and one of today. So on the upper frame we have a caricature of Raila Odinga 5 years ago, and in the speech bubble it says, look, they're going to steal the elections, and he's probably saying this to the world. Behind him is Uhuru and Ruto. And then today it's the same frame, but only now a different character there, William Ruto, and he says, look, they're going to steal the elections, but this time at the back it's Uhuru and Raila. You know, the thing with losing politicians, they always claim that it was a stolen election.
Right.
Even if that politician got like 1,000 votes, 100,000. Ah,
It was rigged.
It was rigged. They
Money
stole.
was poured.
Money was poured. All of that.
And he's already making those claims already that we will win the election. I do like that cartoon. I'd say we put it in the parking bay and take a look at the Star.
In the Star, we have a cartoon from Ozone. We have caricatures of William Ruto in a yellow sweater and a green tie, and Raila in a blue sweater and an orange tie, and they're taking an exam. And the exam, question 1 says, it's actually the only question. The running mates are going to come from which region? A, Mount Kenya, B, Central, C, Gema, and D, all of the above. And on the side frames, we have caricatures of Mudavadi and Kalonzo, watching them very, very closely. So I think Ozone is also, he's linking our politics to the KCPE exams that have started this week. And asking the very important question, where is the candidate going to come from? And I think we all know the answer is D. All of the above.
All of the above.
And the answers are quite simple, you know. When you have Gema, Central, Mount Kenya, whatever you want to call them, being the most populous voting bloc, our numbers show there are 6 million registered voters, but projected voters based on turnout will be about 4.6 million, right? If they bring the votes to the table, they deserve something, and I think that position is running mate. And second of all, Kikuyus do not know how to not be in power.
That's true.
So I think they're going to fight tooth and nail to get any position that they can.
I do quite like, I like this cartoon, and I think I like so much so that I just want to put it in the parking bay for a moment.
Let me just say one thing. That Kenyans are so enamored by politics. I would not be surprised if this question actually showed up on the KCPE examination. We used to have to cram the name of some ministers during when I was in primary school.
I do love that. I think there was once I saw a paper with a meme with a kid who had answered, it's meant to give opposites in Kiswahili, so they wrote Uhuru, which is freedom, and the kid right there just wrote Ruto.
The opposite of Uhuru.
Uhuru is Ruto. I found that very hilarious. On to the Daily Nation, where we have a caricature of Wakweni Governor Kivutha Kibwana wearing many shoes. On his foot, he has a governor's shoe, which fits him. It's the right shoe for him. His hand, he has his whole leg inside the president's shoe, which is way too big, the biggest shoe for him. He has on a little shoe he's trying to put on his other foot called Senator, and behind his back is the littlest, tiniest, cutest little shoe called MCA. I think it's the fact that he can't decide what he wants to do for 2022.
The presidency is too big for him. I think he had declared his intention to run for president. And because he's a governor on his second term, I think he's now regressed to going to senator.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, devolution was an exercise in experimentation.
It is, and we're still experimenting on how
Yeah.
far you can go and how many seats you could hold before you can call it quits.
Right.
I think that will be a good experiment for us to watch with Makueni governor there.
Okay.
We have 3-part criteria. What do you think of these headlines? What would put past
I
as
think they're
our
all
winning?
decent cartoons.
Cartoons,
They really
yeah.
are.
But
I
I
quite
think,
like the star.
Yeah, I agree. The star is
Very
the
humorous.
one of the day.
I think I agree with you all. Our winning cartoon today comes from Ozone of the Star. As a reminder, we had no winning headline, and you can find us on your TV screens. You're on Pang Free to Air, Go TV, and Star Times. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll leave you with a quote today on half-truths. It's an anonymous quote, and it says that, "Beware of the half-truth. You may have gotten hold of the wrong half." Do have a good evening.